Okay, good morning, students. Am I audible? Anyone unmute yourself and tell me, am I audible or not? And
Yes,
even
sir.
okay, it's all right. So in the last lecture, we have started the cooling method, right? So different cooling methods for the power devices. Power devices are used for very high power rating, but it's voltage and current. So it requires to maintain the temperature within the specified limit. Okay, so for that purpose, there are various methods to keep the temperature within a specified limit. So heat sink is one of the effective method. Even in all power devices, the heat sinks are given with the power devices by manufacturer by default. In some power devices, uh, some additional heat sinks are required or cooling techniques should be implemented so that the power devices are protected from any damage from any high temperature. Okay, so cooling methods that we will see later on, but before that, the first one, that is a heat sink. Okay, so heat sink basically is a device that is whatever heat is produced in a junction of a device, that heat transfer from junction to atmosphere uh, through first case, then heat sink, and then it may be in a atmosphere, right? So that the temperature of power devices is maintained. We all are already learn in second year, that is a transistor. If you see the construction of a transistor, NPN, PNP transistor, so collector area is large in a size, right? Everyone knows that why the collector area is large, because the emitter emits the electrons into the base. Very few holes are present in a base. So 95% of electrons are injected from emitter to collector, and already in collector there is a majority as a electrons. So definitely movement of electrons is more in a collector. So temperature in collector area increases. So most of the power transistor, the body itself act as a collector. Okay. If you see the power transistor, then body itself acts as a collector, because whatever temperature is generated inside the collector, that should be transferred to the atmosphere through body. Okay, and these power devices are mounted on heatsink. Why heatsink is required? To dissipate more power, the area to dissipate more power is increased with the help of heatsinks. Okay, so heatsinks are required. This is a generalized electrical model of heat transfer from device to atmosphere. So PA is average power loss in the device. So TJ is called as junction temperature. Definitely this temperature is a large. So junction temperature TJ, that is generated at PN junction. The RJC, the resistance, that is called thermal resistance between junction to case, right? Thermal resistance, it means it is a resistance offered by uh, maybe device or maybe a case, that is for temperature, right? So that is a thermal resistance. So thermal resistance RJC. Then the second resistance, that is between sink and case, temperature generated at junction is transferred to the case. Case, it means a body of that device, and then from case to sink. Normally the devices are mounted on a heat sink. So temperature which is maybe a transfer from junction to case, it will automatically transfer to the sink. Sink, it means heat sink. And then from heat sink, because heat sink is always open to air, So temperature is transferred to the atmosphere called as ambient. So this is actually a equivalent model, electrical model for heat transfer from device to ambient. Okay, this total power loss is equal to del T divided by R. Del T is a difference between these two temperature, that is Tj minus Ta divided by R. R is a total resistance offered by the junction to case to sink and sink to ambient. So it is a thermal resistance offered by the different places, or you can say case, sink, and so on. So this PA is equal to del T by R. Del T is a Tj minus Ta, and R is a total junction, total thermal resistance. Okay. So here some equations are given, that is del T, Tj minus Ta. Then power, average power loss in a device is a Tj minus Ta by R. So PA equal to Tj minus Ta divided by R is RJC plus RCS plus RSA, right? That is the total R. R equal to RJC plus RCS plus RCA. This RJC is a thermal resistance from junction to case, and which is measured in degree Celsius per watt. RCS, thermal resistance from case to sink, again measure in degree Celsius per watt. And RSA, thermal resistance from sink to ambient, again having same unit, degree Celsius per watt. Ta is the ambient temperature, junction, Tj is the junction temperature, and Pa is the average power loss in the device. Okay. So if you want to calculate the any thermal resistance or thermal resistance between junction to case or case to sink or sink to ambient, you can calculate with the help of this. That is del T divided by Pa minus RJC plus RCS and so on. A small problems may be asked on these equations. So you should prepare these equations. I have prepared one question bank for online test, whatever you learn in first unit and second unit. So I will conduct one online quiz on that. So that quiz will be open only for 1 hour or maybe 30 minutes, 20 marks questions. So you have maybe sometimes the options in a question bank, and sometimes you can write the answer directly. So that type of question bank I have prepared. So after this lecture, or maybe after tomorrow's lecture, maybe Thursday, we don't have any lecture, so I'll send you the question bank and even time for giving exam and so on. So that I will discuss later on. But this is a small problem maybe asked on that. See, this is the actual structure of a heat transfer. This is actually a device, that is a junction temperature Tj. So that junction temperature transfer from junction to case, then case to mica insulation pad. And normally the devices are connected to the heatsink, or heatsink devices are placed on a heatsink. So there will be some isolation pad between a device and heatsink, that is given, and then the heatsink is there. See, these are actually a fins, right? So these whatever arrows shown here, so that fins, it means the area of heatsink is increased by increasing the number of fins. If you see, this is a picture in front of you, fin type heatsink or different other type of heatsinks are shown here. So this is a first one, that is a fin type heatsink. So you can mount your devices on a surface of heatsink, and if you see downward direction, there will be a lines. Actually, these are the fins called fin, basically because of that fins the area of heatsink increases, and if the area of heatsink increases, it means the temperature handling capacity of that heatsink also increases. Larger the area, it can handle maybe a larger temperature. Okay, so fins basically because of fins the area increases, area for the temperature to dissipate the maximum temperature, that area increases. Okay, so that is given here in this particular figure. It just shown for your understanding what is the junction temperature, what is the case, what is the mica and heatsink, and these are the fins actually. Okay, so if you see this picture, that is the second slide, fin type heatsink, just concentrate on fin type heatsink. So the lines which are given downward direction, that is actually a fins or a plates, right? So if you see the number of plates, if it is more, then more temperature may be dissipated in this heat sink. Simply, if the area is more, if you just try at your home that you just take a screwdriver or any other iron piece, and if you heat that on your gas or maybe any other type of flame, then what happens, the temperature as increases, the that device, the iron piece heated, right? And if it is longer in a length, then definitely wherever you pick up that particular iron piece, it will heat maybe after a long time. So that is basically, if the area is more, then heat spread in that particular area is also more. So power handling or maybe a temperature handling capacity of that device we can increase. Even in some applications, this heat sink is also not sufficient, right? So if suppose by connecting heat sink, or even if you see the computer, if you open your computer, if you see the motherboard, and on motherboard, if you see, there will be a one cooling fan, right? Even your processor is mounted on motherboard. On that processor, there will be a larger size heatsink, and again on that heatsink there will be a exhaust cooling fan, so that the whatever temperature is dissipated along that particular heatsink, that will be maybe out from the particular heatsink to the atmosphere. So normally exhaust type of fan, cooling fan, is directly connected on a heatsink. So that whatever temperature is generated in a processor, that is transferred to the heatsink, and then from heatsink to the cooling fan to the atmosphere. So that is actually a cooling method that we will see later on. So this is one of the heatsink, and these are the different heatsink for different type of components, right? So this is a SCR stud type on ear cooled kit. You can see this is another type of heatsink, or maybe SCR hockey puck type on power packets. That is also one of the type of heatsink. Then assembly of power converters. If you see, maybe there are a large number of heatsinks are connected with the power devices. If you see the black color in the last figure, that black figure nothing but the power devices, and then whatever heatsinks are provided. So more power can be handled with that heat sinks, right? This one slide I'll share with you. This will shows the different power devices and their voltage rating, even upper frequency, switching time, on state resistance, and so on. So this is actually a typical values. So these values may vary as per the manufacturers, but these are the typical values. For example, if you see power diode, so power diode voltage rating is 4000 volt to 4500, right, ampere. So 4000 volt and 4500 ampere is a typical value. Some diodes maybe have a lower value of that. Some may have the higher value of these typical values. So these are just typical values for your reference. What type of voltage and current ratings of a devices that is given. If you see here thyristor, that is SCR. So SCR voltage rating is given as 6500 volt and current rating of 4200 ampere, right? That is line commutated low speed SCRs. Then reverse blocking, high speed, bidirectional RCT and GTO, etc. So all devices, the ratings are given for your just for your reference, right? Because many times I'm telling that these devices are used for high power, high current, high voltage, but actually what is the high voltage, high current values? So just for your reference, I shared this PPT, this slide with you. So next one is the types of cooling. The heatsink is alone is not sufficient many times, because some power devices generates very large heat. So your heatsink alone is not sufficient. So that time we are using some cooling methods, different cooling methods. So these are the 4 cooling methods that I have shown here in the slide. So heatsink dissipates more heat due to its increased area. Normally heatsink have fins to increase the area. The heat can be dissipated to the ambience from the surface of heat by the following ways. That is called, first one, natural convection. Then second one is a forced air cooling. Third is a liquid cooling, and last is a vapor phase cooling. Okay, natural convection, it means directly your heat sink is open to air. So this is a natural convection. So automatically, if the heat sink area or surface of heat sink, if you open to air, then definitely the heat sink is cooled with the outside atmosphere air or maybe a temperature, so that the temperature of heat sink is maintained. And if temperature of heat sink is maintained, then automatically the temperature of device can be maintained, right? So the heat transfer or heat sink surface have some treatment actually to support heat transfer by radiation and natural convection. That is again important, because whatever temperature is generated on heat sink, that should be transferred to the air in a proper way. So heat sinks are normally plated or painted, right? So aluminum fins are normally painted. If you see the aluminum, okay, so again, sorry for interruption due to low internet connection problem. Our meeting is interrupted twice. So thank you for staying with the meeting. Force air cooling. Okay, again, tell me, am I audible and the screen is visible for you or not? Just
Yes,
once.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So force air cooling, as the convection method, if it is not alone sufficient to transfer the air from, transfer the temperature or heat from heat sink to the atmosphere, then the force air cooling method is used. This is maybe a second part or second type of cooling method. Normally, convection method is sufficient with the low power devices, but for high power devices which generates very large temperature, so definitely the force air cooling or other cooling methods are required, right? So natural convection, that is nothing is done, only the heat sinks or fins of heat sinks are open to air, that is done. And some treatment is also done on that fin, so that the maximum temperature is maybe handled. Okay, so if the temperature is still more, then forced air cooling method is used, in which the exhaust fan which is placed on a surface of heat sink, so that whatever the heat is generated or maybe dissipated in a fins, that heat is taken away from the heat sink fins, and that is spread over the large atmospheric area, so that the temperature of heat sink is maintained. If temperature of heat sink is maintained, then you can maintain the temperature of power device. Otherwise, power devices may damage. So this is called force air cooling. Then next is the liquid cooling. This is again the next version of a cooling method. If the natural convection and after that force air cooling, if it is not sufficient, right, to handle the temperature or to dissipate the more temperature, then liquid cooling is also used. The best example, actually, it is not example of liquid cooling, but if you see, the coolant is used in all four-wheeler vehicles, right? Simply to maintain the temperature of engine machine, right? So similarly, the liquid cooling is also used. So in this liquid cooling, what happens? The devices are mounted on heatsink, and the fins of heatsink are directly deep into the oil or liquid. Okay, so that what happens? The fins which are deep into the liquid, that spread the temperature into the liquid. That liquid is continuously that is called basically open to air, and then again back to the particular assembly. So what happens exactly in the liquid cooling method? The devices are mounted on heatsink, right? And that heatsinks are normally deep into the liquid. Sometimes that liquid is also a stable liquid, or sometimes it may be a continuously flowing liquid, so that maximum temperature is handled. So normally the flowing liquid is used, and water is not used actually as a liquid. Some other type of coolants are used. If you see here, oil emerge natural cooling. So in oil emerge natural cooling, the heat sink assemblies emerge in the oil tank directly, right? The heat is transferred from device to heat sink fins and then to the oil, or maybe a coolant, or maybe a cooling material, right? The heat is transferred from oil to tank surface, and then tank surface to the atmosphere, right? So your tank should be placed in open air, so that the heat is transferred from fins, heat sink fins, to the oil, and then from oil to tank, and then tank to atmosphere, right? Open to atmosphere. Sometimes this liquid is directly open to air, and it is continuously moving liquid, so that the liquid which will pass through the fins will take the heat, and then it will open to air, so that again the liquid is cooled and again sent back to the heat sink fins, right? That is also done. So the tank is having maybe a fins on their surface, hence the heat transfer from tank to atmosphere is also increased. Okay. Sometimes forced liquid cooling, whatever we are seeing, first one, that is oil emerge. So in this, only fins are deep into the coolant or a cooling material, right, or liquid, and then that cooling liquid, that is heat, is transferred to the fins, to the cooling liquid, from cooling liquid to the tank, and then tank to the atmosphere. Normally we are increasing here area for heat transfer, right? But if it is not sufficient, then second one is a forced liquid cooling. Okay, so the liquid flow at some velocity around the heat sink assembly. So liquid is continuously flowing, which take heat from the fins, right? The liquid normally flows in a closed loop system. After passing over the heated device and heat sink, the liquid gets hot. When it passes through a narrow fins of the tank, these fins are open to air. Therefore, liquid gets cooled through these fins, and then again it passes over the devices. The liquid cooling is more effective than immerse cooling, or maybe a forced air cooling, right? So water is normally not used as a coolant, since it has a corrosion problem. So other liquids like ethylene glycol water, that is 60% by weight, ethylene glycol 100%, and mineral oil like mobility fluids are normally used for forced liquid cooling. So normally a simple water not used as a coolant, right? So that is ethylene glycol water, in which 50% is water and 40% is other material, so that the corrosion problem is avoided, right? So this is actually called as a forced air cooling. The liquid flow at some velocity around the heat sink assembly. The liquid normally flow in a closed loop system. So it passes from the fins, heated fins. So it will take the heat, or maybe the okay. So well, force liquid cooling, the liquid flow at maybe a constant velocity. Every time it passes from the heated fins, they will take the heat from the fins, and then that liquid flow is open to air at the tank surface, and where it cool down and again flow back to the fins. That is called as a force liquid cooling. It is more effective than immerse cooling. Okay, and normally water is not used. Okay, so this is actually a diagram that is given: force liquid cooling heat exchanger. So in which the figure A shows the section of figure B when it cut along BB direction, and actually the second one shows the vertical cut view of a device, and the shaded area shows the passage for liquid. So liquid is passed from one place and it is out from the another place. During that, it will passes to the heated sink or maybe a fins, so that heat may be transferred from that particular heat sink or fins to the liquid to open here, and again the liquid again come back to the fins. Okay, so that process is continuously going on, so that the temperature of fins or heat sink is maintained. If temperature of heat sink is maintained, automatically the temperature of case is maintained. If the temperature of case is maintained, then the temperature, junction temperature is also maintained. If it is beyond the limit, then device definitely get damaged. Okay, so these are the different cooling methods which are used to handle the temperature which is generated at the junction. Okay, then last one is a vapor phase cooling. This is another method, and normally it is more effective than all three methods which already we have seen. So vapor phase cooling method, that is the diagram is given here. So condensed liquid is given here, and that condensed liquid, normally these fins are deep into that liquid, so that the vapor is generated. Actually, very less time is remaining, so we'll see the vapor phase cooling in the next lecture. Dear student, thank you for attending. Thank you for your patience, because two times our meeting is interrupted due to the internet problem. So thank you once again. This vapor phase cooling part we will see in the next lecture. So thank you. Okay, due to technical problem, the our meeting is break. Okay, tell me, am I audible? Because
Yes, sir.
okay, thank you. So natural convection, that's natural convection, basically accomplished with the help of some treatments on a heatsink. So copper fins are plated or painted. Aluminum fins are normally painted or anodized. So presently, most of the heatsinks use a black anodize. The surface of heatsink under the device is free of paint. When the surface or maybe the device is connected or placed on your heatsink, then whatever the surface which is maybe a contact surface between device and heatsink is normally not painted, it is free from paint. So ionization process, that is a cleaning up that particular place, is required, so that the maximum heat transfer, if suppose the devices are covered with some dust or other things, then definitely the temperature handling or maybe a transferring to the ambient is reduced, so that ionization process is required. So that is accomplished daily for a heatsink, so that more temperature can be dissipated to the atmosphere. Again, internet connection is slow. I am maybe okay. Uh, so there are some treatments normally done on a heatsink. So that is basically called natural convection. It means no any other fan or cooling techniques is used. Just only some process is done on surface of heatsink, and according that the temperature, that is maybe a transfer of temperature to the atmosphere, is increased. That is called as a natural convection. Okay. So natural convection is a very simple one. Then second one, it is called forced air cooling. If the natural convection is not sufficient, it means that your heatsink, if it is heated largely, it means that if the temperature is not transferred to the ambient fastly, or maybe the rate of transfer of temperature to the ambient is low due to the heavy temperature produced at the junction of a device, then forced air cooling is used. Best example of this forced air cooling is your computer. if you have open your computer, then you just see the motherboard and the processor which is mounted on your motherboard. So processor, on that processor there will be a large size of heatsink is mounted, and again on that heatsink there will be a exhaust fan, cooling fan, so that the temperature of that heatsink may be maintained, right? So the circulation of air over the fins of a heatsink can be increased with the help of fan or compressor. Sometimes maybe compressors are also used so that the temperature of that fins or heatsink is maintained. The hot air is taken away from the heatsink fins with the help of cooling fan. As already we discussed that the exhaust fans are mounted on fins or heatsink, so that whatever hot air that fins produces, that is taken away from the heatsink fins and which is sent to the atmosphere, so that the temperature of heatsink is maintained, or you can have maybe a more temperature handling capacity of heatsink is increased by using this forced air cooling. Okay. Therefore, the heat convection is fast and cooling of a power device is more effective. So